Good morning, Aras, and good day to all our viewers. Today we are having a quick chat with the CEO of Avicanna. Avicanna is a Canadian commercial stage biopharma company that focuses on cannabinoid research and development, as well as evidence-based products for global customers. The company already has an international footprint with sales in USA, Canada, Europe, and Latin America, with continuing growth in operations as well as in revenue. Good day to you, Aras.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you here. To jump in with our first question, could you tell me a little bit about Avicanna and your team in particular?
Sure. You provided the overview in terms of the fact that we're a pharmaceutical company. We incepted the company actually 2015, early 2016. We spent the first few years on R&D, a lot of drug delivery work in terms of cannabinoid-based products. We saw the opportunity within the potential efficacy of cannabinoid-based products. However, we noticed that much of the sector, or much of the companies that were emerging at the time, were predominantly focused on the recreational use of cannabis or just the delivery of flower. So we've taken it upon ourselves to provide evidence-based, standardized cannabinoid products that we have now taken to the market. We've taken over 30 finished products into the market. We're across several international markets as well. But the general objective that we set back then, and one that we have executed and continue to execute on, is evidence-based functional and medical products using botanical or natural plants such as cannabinoids. That would be sort of the gist of it, the summary of it. We operate within several business units. We have a dermatology line, a medical prescription line. We also do have our own vertically integrated infrastructure in South America, where we do the cultivation, and that is utilized for Avicanna's own medical and pharma products, but also we are exporting those raw materials into other pharmaceutical partners. And generally, most of our business today is conducted in Canada, but we are active in 14 countries.
Mm-hmm. And could you touch on your team and the management a little bit?
Sure. Most of the executive team have been with us from the beginning. The team is comprised of management consultants, lawyers, accountants, pharmaceutical scientists, clinicians. In terms of our human resources and our talent, we are certainly a biopharmaceutical company, but we're a team of very young, innovative, and extremely driven group of people that have come together to deliver these type of products into the global marketplace. And it's been a very exciting few years. It's been a challenging few years considering the natural connotation or connection that we get to the cannabis industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. We've steered away from the recreational sides of it, and have continued to stay true to that vision because of the quality of the team involved as well.
And what would you say that makes Avicanna different from other biopharma companies out there? Can you tell us also a little bit about the research that you're doing?
Absolutely, and I think the research is the key. So when we sought out in 2016, we were immediately admitted into a Johnson & Johnson incubator called J Labs. So we're technically the only cannabis company to have any type of association to what is the world's largest pharmaceutical company. From there on, we began collaborations with the top academic and clinical institutions in Canada, namely University of Toronto's Faculty of Pharmacy, UHN, which is the largest medical institution. So we've been quite active in terms of establishing our own R&D and scientific platform, which is why all the proprietary products, formulations, delivery mechanisms, extraction methodologies, they're all owned by Avicanna because we developed everything. But in addition to that, we've had the luxury of being pioneers and being, from my perspective, leaders in terms of the R&D and clinical work in Canada, and have had the luxury and the pleasure of working with the top institutions, but also the top minds, the top key opinion leaders within Canada. And because Canada is federal, we've been able to do this level of research. And I think that's the major differentiation between Avicanna and other cannabinoid-based companies, is that we are a strictly medical company. We're strictly driven by research data. And because Canada was one of the first countries to federalize it, we've been able to take a leading charge and be one of the first companies in the world to have done that level of real pharmaceutical research on our products. What differentiates us from other biopharma companies is the fact that we're utilizing novel compounds such as cannabinoids. Big pharma is typically not allowing this to happen, so we've positioned ourselves as pioneers, and we positioned ourselves to be a fantastic collaborator and a fantastic partner for the larger pharmaceutical companies as they do start entering into the cannabinoid space.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the cannabinoid space, last week you announced the introduction of CBG products into the Canadian market. What impact do you see happening out of this news, and what development have you had so far?
Well, CBG is another compound, right? I mean, the world is quite familiar with THC, the psychoactive, the euphoric field. We look at THC as a compound that could be utilized for pain, could be utilized for multiple sclerosis, particular neurological disorders. The world is quite familiar now with CBD. CBD has already been demonstrated in terms of clinical efficacy and having the first FDA-approved drug for epilepsy and seizure control. CBG was once a rare cannabinoid, and it still is a rare cannabinoid, but it's another compound that has a lot of utility. We've been working on CBG for many years. We were the first to cultivate it, commercially extract it, and isolate it in South America. We've been exporting CBG into other markets. We've developed a formulary of CBG products. It's not one product, it's about 10. And we are now starting to put those not only into studies in terms of research and understanding more so about its efficacy, but also we're starting to commercialize it, with some of the largest partners that we have, including the largest pharmacy chains and the largest, adult use or retail channel in Canada, which is the Ontario government's cannabis store. So we're starting to not only generate data on CBG in terms of research, we're already commercializing it in terms of a unique compound, but we're also commercializing final products into the market, which will allow us to get a lot more understanding, a lot more signals around where the product will have the most efficacy and most utility.
Mm-hmm. So, and Aras, what would you say is coming next for the company? What are your medium to long-term plans?
So I think in the short to mid-term, it's predominantly focused on commercialization. We began commercialization about a year ago, and we had 1 or 2 products in the Canadian marketplace. Today we have about 25. We're across international markets, so we're starting to see pretty rapid growth in terms of revenue. Last year we finished with about $3.5 million Canadian. The year prior to that it was about $1 million, but mainly licensing. So we are a recently commercialized company, and the short to midterm objective is to increase that revenue. And we're doing it while reducing costs to make the company more self-sufficient. And the objective really is to use those early wins to make us self-sufficient, to be able to continue to do the research and the hard work related to the drugs. Long term, the objective is to have a consumer department or consumer division that is already commercial, to have a medical division that's already commercial, but really to start seeing the fruits of the pharmaceutical division, which we expect to see some of those drugs. So long term, it's much more larger. And in terms of our financial sort of objectives, we provided a guidance that we're going to be achieving towards $9 million this year, which will be a triple from the previous year. And what's really exciting and what really differentiates the company, and I hope investors do take a look, is unlike other cannabis companies that are selling very undifferentiated products, very simple products that are very competitive and are facing a lot of price compression, we operate in a very specific medical, proprietary, functional product area in which we do maintain price integrity and we do maintain pharmaceutical level margins. And I think as our revenue grows, because our costs have been in many ways minimized and optimized, we will be on track to being one of the first profitable, and definitely one of the first profitable biopharmaceutical companies related to the cannabinoid space.
That's very interesting to know. And would you want to also talk about your operations here in Europe?
Yeah, we have a very small team in the European Union and in the UK. We're starting to do our initial exports of finished products. We recently signed a partnership in Germany with Biogate. We've been exporting CBD, CBG actually, and THC into some of our European pharmaceutical partners. But we expect the second half of 2022 and 2023 be the era where we start getting much more active in the European Union with our medical products, potentially pharmaceutical products, and also getting more raw material pharmaceutical partners out in Europe. So we've been predominantly focused on Canada, but that's our home base and that's the most mature market. It's a $5-6 billion market already. We're definitely establishing proof of concept, revenues, proof of concept, brand recognition. We've done so in Latin America. We're certainly pioneers there. I think we're in about 8 countries in South America today. So getting into Europe is definitely the next horizon, but we didn't want to spread ourselves too thin. So we are now building the foundation to get into the European Union and UK as well.
Okay, that's very interesting news, because for an investor in Europe who has little knowledge about this sector, what would you give out as a message as the CEO of the company?
I think there was a bit of a frenzy in 2017, 18, early 2019 around the potential of cannabis. All these companies raised pretty significant amounts of money, and a lot of that was, in my opinion, misused. And those were generally recreational companies, and a lot of the North American investor base, specifically Canadians and Americans, probably lost money in investing in some of those companies that were mismanaged. While that era is gone and that has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth in North America, the reality is the industry is very real. It's a $5 billion market so far on the medical, wellness, recreational side, and the clinical efficacy and the potential benefits of cannabinoid-based products is very real. And we're seeing only positive legislation and regulatory movement globally, and we're only seeing growth in terms of market potential. So the opportunity is there. I think many of the companies that are good companies have been, mislabeled by some of the bad ones. And I think there's good investment opportunities. For a company like Avicanna that were predominantly focused on medical, pharmaceutical, and evidence-based approach, I think that's a better fit for the European audience that appreciate biopharmaceutical, biotech, evidence, science, patents. While, again, in Canada, we may be misunderstood because of the negative stigma associated to cannabis and cannabis investments. I think this is a very good opportunity for those that do believe in the efficacy of cannabis-based medicine.
Yes, sounds very good. And I'm sure there will be many questions from our viewers. So we will come back to you again in a few months. And do you have any closing words for us?
It's a very exciting phase, again, for me as a CEO and as the company and also as the industry. So stay tuned in terms of what's coming. There's going to be more and more great news coming out about what we're going to be doing and markets we're entering, and just the success of the products and the markets we've already established. So it's an exciting phase for us. I just hope that we can get more and more people to notice the progress that the company is making.
Yes. Thank you, Aras, today for taking out this time to chat with us, and we will stay updated with you in the coming months. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.